Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Monday morning. Grumpy's here in the house by contract. Finally, things are kind of good, so he's not here making us grumpy. Polish Prince is on the way. There was a minor problem in the castle, so he's attending to that issue right now, but he'll be joining us in a few minutes over here. We'll talk about the win over the weekend. That's 2 wins in a row since we last did a show with Mateusz over here. So that'll be interesting. Alan, good morning. Ryan, good morning to everybody. Welcome aboard. As you hop on, hit that thumbs up and we'll get the party going. And like I say, Mateusz, once he fixes the castle over there, he's on one of the towers yelling at the butlers, I think. So he'll be joining us in a little bit over here. And Cersei is in the house as well. So good days, but then we'll talk about the win, kind of like what it means. Obviously, the whole Mo thing going on in the background, what you guys think of that. I hear a lot of like different takes overall in terms of how people perceive the last walk around and all that kind of stuff. But at least it will not be what we were talking about last week, which is a nice change of pace over there. You don't know freezing, buddy boy. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Honestly, the funny thing is, I think it was yesterday when, we kind of like did everything we needed to on Friday with Ange, so we don't have to go out over the weekend. And yesterday, I'm like, it looks nice out because the sun was out and stuff, but it was like negative something. So I don't know if the Polish Prince was out and about in the Chicagoland area, but it's pretty freaking cold in here over there. So, okay, let's see. I think he's ready to roll. Yes, the Prince is in the house. Did you fix the castle?
You think I'm going to fix the castle? No castle's been fixed. What has needed to be done for now has been done, and the rest can wait until after Christmas.
I don't even know how that happens, by the way. Like, yeah, that was somebody, like a prince did that before, because that's not proper construction in the first place.
I don't know. I was looking at it. I was kind of impressed by how cleanly it just fell off, but I was also then very mad about how it just tumbled forward and just got stuck in between the wall. On either side. And so I had to unscrew everything to get anything out of there. It was just a pain. And if you guys know me, and you don't, but you will, if you don't know now, I can't do anything handy. I'm not a handyman. So this is where I'm at now. I'm going to be asking for help. That's for sure. Oh, and you were talking about it being cold? Yeah, 30 degrees. I wish it was 30 degrees. I was outside yesterday.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I mean, well, to get to my car, to get to work and back, but I still had to go outside to do that. And it was 2 degrees outside. In the morning, it was -1 when I left. Fahrenheit. So not
it's
Celsius.
Weird because when I look, like I say, like we're inside the house and it's like really sunny and bright outside. And I was like, it looks nice out. And then she's like, what are you, nuts? It's like in the negatives. And I was like, the sun looks warm though, like from inside.
It's tricking you to go outside and then it kills you once you're out there.
Yeah, not buying it. The only time I opened the door was to let Leo and Stitch out, who are finally happy that they're getting snacks and some wins and stuff like that, because it was some lonely days over there. So what'd you make of the game? We've getting a win again since we were here last week. 2 wins, 2 shutouts. Clean sheets. Deluded Steve says we thought he was being sarcastic, but it's down to 10 points, baby. I think it's somewhere on there.
Why stop at the double? It's going treble, baby. The dreams are back on, right? If you're not dreaming, you're dead, or something along those lines is what one person once said. I think another solid performance that is inspiring for the months to come, right? I know that Mo was involved in most of the match given Gomez's injury. And so, we got maybe a little glimpse over this past week of life without Mo for the next month and a half, whatever the case might be. But I think Cersei also alluded to it, it's 5 games with positive results in the sense that they weren't losses. So that's something to build on. And you need to start somewhere, right? And I know that we have the sense of those false dawns, possibly when you have moments where you beat Real Madrid and then you lose, right, really poorly to Forest. So those are the things that really get you. But 5 matches in a row without losing. It's a positive start. My only worry is while I really love this setup that we have going right now with the 4 midfielders, there is no midfielder to come on if one of them have to come off or if one of them get injured, right? So while I like the shape and I see everything working and it looks really good, the moment you have to make a change or the moment someone goes down with an injury, I fear that we're just going to go back to what was really bad before. And that's the only thing I'm sort of just trying to pump the brakes on, knowing that with the depth of how he wants to set up right now, there isn't a lot of room for error or injury or tiredness in that sense.
And I don't know how the other guys fit this equation. See, that's my thing. So I was thinking the same thing because I know we were watching it and, we're like, oh, we need subs over here. And she's like, why isn't subbing? And I was like, well, the way I look at it is I don't know who would come in, like to that midfield, especially. But having said that, I don't know how this changes if, for example, Gakpo is healthy, if Isak could do the 90 minutes and stuff. So I don't know if he plays both of them. I don't know where Gakpo fits in this. Like, does he fit on the left? Because I would be afraid to have. I mean, we'll talk about it, but Wirtz was like a weird role for one, and he was like all over the place, like just popping out on the right, popping out on the left. Suddenly was back, suddenly was a tad and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a weird ordeal watching him. And I'm thinking, well, so if Gakpo played, like, where the hell is he gonna play? I can't put him anywhere unless he's playing up top or something like that. So that was the tricky thing. Deluded Steve says Turkey does have a chance to play, and yes, we're in the US group as well. So we gotta beat Romania and Slovakia. I don't know if I will be able to attend the game. I find this really, really stupid, by the way, because one, I mean, now we kind of know where to get tickets to. So until now, I don't know how people bought tickets because you didn't know where to be, because you didn't know. We still don't know a schedule or anything like that. So, and from what I understand, the prices are obnoxious. Have you tried getting tickets for the Polish parade?
They're not even qualified for the World Cup yet, so that'd be pretty premature of me to do that.
Same thing, yeah. Honestly, like I wanted to go to a game that was, even if Turkey does not make it, I wanted to go to a weird game like South Korea or Cameroon or something. I don't even know they're qualified. I just threw it out there. You know what I mean? Like, so you get to like the experience, the vibe, hang out with a group of fans and stuff like that. But from what I understand, the prices are brutal. The rumors are you have already, like, you're taking the whole castle to a game.
Yeah. Everyone but myself, apparently, because I wasn't clued in on this, on the 200 tickets here. We've, my sister-in-law, her family is from the Kansas City area, and they are sporting Kansas City season ticket holders. And so through that, they were able to get like an early chance at tickets if they wanted to. So I know that if you're part of these MLS supporters groups where the stadiums where there are games taking place, that you had a chance to kind of have early access to a ticket. But I don't know as far as, if it's at let's say Kansas City, or if they have just a chance to get it from anywhere. I don't know that much, but I don't even know if they tried. I just know that they had the option to, because yes, it's insanely expensive. I think there was a graphic that I saw where 4 years ago, the difference in prices have just skyrocketed. And that's just, I think the thing that people are realizing is that's sports in the US. The fans here don't give a shit to try and protest any sort of prices because they're fine paying it. And they're like, well, this is just the cost of seeing professional athletes.
Yes.
When it doesn't have to be, right? And then so what you do is you end up with a bunch of people that go to games that aren't necessarily big fans, but had the money to go. That's why the atmosphere is always dead. That's why, college football here has the best atmosphere, because you get stadiums full of people who can afford to go to the games and who actually do enjoy the games and are going there for the games, and not just because they said they can pay X amount of money to get there. So the professional atmosphere here in the States is just dead. And these prices are absolute. Like, how do you expect someone from another part of the world to pay for some of these tickets. It's just ridiculous.
I just don't understand the concept of how they're coming up with these prices. And I'm not even talking like the World Cup. Okay, you can kind of say, oh, it's like every 4 years, freaking every like 50 years in here or whatever. But like we were looking at like different like sporting stuff over here, like within our Chicagoland area, right? And like looking at prices. And I just don't understand, like there are places that don't come anywhere near selling out. And they're like $36 and stuff, like starting at. And I was like, how? And more importantly, why? Like, wouldn't you rather do like $15? Or I don't know if they're like, hey, the target market is like 1,000 people. Nobody else is going to come to this game anyway, regardless of what we price it. So we do 36, so we get 36,000, because we did 18. It's still the same 1,000 bozos that's going to come in. So it's like 18,000. So I don't know if that's why. I just feel like I look at some of these, like, like Chicago Fire is a good example, right? Like maybe you would fill that stadium if you didn't have to like pay like $50 a ticket. Maybe somebody would take their family instead of just going themselves or whatever. But I just don't understand. But that's a good point, actually. In the US, we kind of take it as, well, I guess that's the price. That kind of kind of like a thing. But yeah, it's pretty rough over there. Stats man, what's going on?
You that man.
We're gonna do this every time too. If anyone has a rental party in one of the stadiums, yeah, that's another one actually. But I don't know, man. It's kind of like crazy. So Turkey hopefully will qualify. I have faith as well. But I don't know. I don't know if I would be going to a Turkey game. Depends on where it's at, how much it's at, and it'll be in demand too. I mean, I guess one thing is it's like the US, so it's a good destination to go to a game. So a lot of people with money back home would pay that price and make a US trip or whatever, or Canada trip or whatever out of it as well. So unfortunately it's going to be there. The problem is, like, it's going to be, as long as it doesn't end up like being like the Champions League final, where it's just a bunch of like corporate people, for the most part, zero atmosphere and stuff like that.
It's going to be 100% in the US, especially. Yeah, no way.
True.
It's like the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
How many actual fans of those teams are able to go to the Super Bowl? Very, very small amount, because it is so ridiculously expensive, even for US venue terms, that even that is a lot more expensive than typical. So you don't get a lot of actual fans of the teams that go. So I don't think, I mean, you could argue, depending on who makes it to the final, that you have a chance, depending on how strong that presence of that country is in the US already, right? Like I feel like German presence in the US is probably bigger than a Spanish presence in the US. So
True.
I think you could, maybe get more people that way. But yeah, it's going to be sort of like a big old annoying circus, really, more than an actual sporting event.
The sad thing is, if you're watching from the other side of the pond, this shit is coming your way, because I think, clubs, venues, and all that kind of stuff are kind of liking how the money is being made over here. So they're like, that's a good call. Why don't we
They'll
do that
spend that money without asking any questions? Yeah. Okay, let's do it.
Yep, let's charge it, kind of a deal. So yes, obviously, man, we like both. Actually, we do a podcast after like Turkish games as well. But yeah, we're hopeful. I mean, honestly, the Turkish team, I know how the Polish team is, for example, but with the Turkish team, I'm kind of like taking everything as it comes right now, kind of like pleasantly surprised. It's almost seems like, I know you're going to lose maybe like Çalhanoğlu, like that's about it. But otherwise, it's like a ridiculously young team that in 2 to 4 years, I know it doesn't always work like that, where you're like, oh, 2 more years, this team is going to be great. But there's so much potential. I look at like NS, for example, at Bournemouth, who would be the 9 that we finally can freaking get. You have Kenan Yıldız, you have Arda Güler. So there's like so much talent that's young there. I'm more looking ahead and saying like, hey, like, there's something to look forward to. Has the Polish thing kind of,
that's like, so nice for you. That's so good for you. There is not much for me to say here on that topic. I I will take every positive result in I will take every positive result I can get right now with the national team. And maybe in 12 years, World Cup 2038, we can sit here and talk about how that generation has finally come around and we're back to the golden ages of the late 70s, early 90s, early 80s. You know, and I feel like I say this a lot on the show. For a country so obsessed with the sport, there is no second sport comes close. Volleyball is probably a close second as far as how popular it is there. For a country that obsessed with the sport, to be so bad at it is so frustrating. It doesn't make sense.
But the thing is, they have so many good players and a lot of good teams. That was not a thing for the Turkish national team for the longest part, where now you have, like Arda at Real and you have Kenan Yıldız at Juventus and,
but you can
at Inter.
Can you argue that sometimes, because what I'm guessing is that the Turkish national team for many years was made up of players from both Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, right? Like players who were within the Turkish league, right? So you have players who are familiar with each other all the time, that play with each other all the time. You could argue that is a better recipe sometimes for national success, is playing with players that you typically play with rather than playing with a selection of 15 guys you've never played with except for these 2 months where you have to understand how each other plays. So I think there's got to be a little bit of that in there. And so for like the Polish team, for example, like during like the mid 2000s, late 2000s, when things are kind of going up, and then the early 2010s, they had a lot of success because 3 of their guys were at Dortmund, right? They had Kuba, Waszczykowski, they had Piszczek, they had Lewandowski at Dortmund. And so those guys played with each other week in, week out. And then you added like just solid foundational pieces around them, and they had a much better success rate. So I think like that's for these smaller countries, I think that's the way to go, is having a good sense of unity within some guys on the team who play together at club level and building the rest around the foundational part of it. But yeah, because that's just it's hard to see 15 Polish players spread across Europe who will also do a good job together, I guess is where I'm going.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm trying to think now. I mean, it's used to be like that in Turkey, and now it has changed. And it has changed to the point where you used to have, like 1 or 2 guys who played in Europe, and they could come back. And even if they didn't, it would look like this is how they do it over there, kind of a thing, like show up. It's like, I play in Europe. Whereas now, I mean, pretty much all these guys are coming from like all over the place, where, I mean, like, yeah, they're literally all over the place. So like, Bundesliga and stuff like that. I think it's like a mix. I would say probably like 6 players or so are from, I mean, Ferdi, who actually will go back to the game. Yes, Deluded Steve did distract us with the World Cup chat and the national teams over here. But like Ferdi actually like had a pretty darn good game. I mean, he made us look slower because like, I mean, there were a couple of times he made Mo look like he lost his pace. But to be honest with you, like Ferdi is so fast, that was not really, Mo is so much slower now. It's like Ferdi is so freaking fast. And like he was able to catch up and stuff. But so we'll talk about Mo, but overall takeaways from the game. Yeah, before we got distracted, we were talking about depth to be able to kind of like sustain what we're doing. The good news is for 2 weeks now, you don't have midweek games. So you're able to play like once a week. More importantly, as I was watching the game, you see a lot of good stuff, but then you see some confusion here and there in terms of people are like, wait, well, how did you get over here? Like, but we're supposed to only be on the other side, kind of a thing. Like during the press and stuff, I think a whole week of practicing this new setup over here will only make it better. But like, give me some like takeaways. Like as you watch that game, you're like, I like this, I don't like this.
I like seeing Kirkes feel more confident. I think he's really growing into himself as the season progresses. I really like Szoboszlai as the player of the season so far. I mean, he's all over the place, and I think the most important thing is he will give you what you need from him when you need it from him. I know there are moments that it's really frustrating and he overplays a pass or he kind of gets too cute with it. But in general, he is the workhorse of that midfield. And sometimes, when he has to go and slot back at right back, then he's the engine that's on that back line. So I think that's good. And I think, Ekitike has been a really bright spot for this season too.
Yeah.
I know that I wish we could just swap the price tags from Ekitike and Isak and hope no one notices and be like, see, this is what we paid for. It's no big deal. So yeah, I like the growing confidence and connection with some of the guys in the team. Again, it just goes back to when everyone is healthy, do we see reversion back to what was being done before for the sake of guys who are healthy, or do we continue moving in this direction, this trajectory, and not forcing a name like Gakpo in if he is healthy, right? I think so. Like
Yeah.
that's my thing that I'm trying to understand is, and we won't know until Gakpo comes back, and how fit everyone else is where do we go from here, and do we just try and force back what it was before?
Yeah, with Gakpo, I think like one thing with the Mo deal is, like Slot can be like, hey, if I bench Mo, trust me, you'll be benched as well if you don't do this kind of a thing in this new system. And I did not see like a huge difference. Obviously, when Mo comes in, like the spotlight is on him, like what is he gonna do and what is he gonna do different and stuff. I still feel like while he did a bit more of it, there are some times where you're like, dude, you gotta close that guy down. Like, it's kind of hard to get it into his game over time, but I think it showed that it can possibly work. I'm kind of with Nick over here. That's probably the negative I took from the game too. The fact that, you know, I was okay with us. Well, not my like worrying paranoid side is not okay with it, but I understand when we sit back and absorb the pressure and then go for the counter. But then when you sit back, you should not be conceding all these chances. And I guess that was like my main concern. If we're parked over there in our shape, how are we giving up so many clear cut chances? That was kind of worrying to me because any other day or maybe another team that has like a finisher could have scored some goal on us. Having said that, I mean, if you play that game in the first half, we should have definitely scored more. And the game probably should have been put away too. So you can kind of flip it both ways, I guess. But in terms of the opportunities given, I mean, the XG was lower actually than Brighton at the end of the game, which is never a good sign over there. Talking about, I mean, obviously that goal at the time it was the fastest this season. Now it's not because West Ham scored earlier. But I mean, that helps the cause, right? But that's a great finish. So the whole Ikitika thing, I think we find it more similar to what we're used to out of that position. A guy who drops back, guy who like interplays. I do find them similar to, I mean, Bobby is a unicorn, but in terms of like some of the things Bobby did, but then Isak is totally different. So I just don't know what the balance is there in terms of how we switch playing based on who's up top, especially if we're going to have both up top.
Yeah, they're incredibly different strikers, right? And I think that's the frustrating thing is thinking back to the summer and buying both of them and thinking, how is it going to work with both of them? And then you make the argument, okay, well then one is just a swap for the other. Yeah, that works if their playing styles are similar, but you can't just swap one for the other and expect both of them to do the same things that the other one does.
Yeah.
And so when you have Isak versus when you have Ekitike, and you're potentially asking players to do different things, and so you don't have this consistency, I guess, is what you're looking for mostly in finding how you play and playing together. So that thankfully is not a question that I have to answer because I'm not put in charge and making that kind of money. And Lord knows how badly I would screw it up if I was in charge. But it is interesting to have two strikers of that profile of, unfortunately, that money, because we do have to put that into consideration, right? You can't just drop 200 million pounds on two guys and just not expect there to be question marks when things aren't going well. And yeah, so it'll be interesting to see where we go from here in terms of how do we get the best out of each of them while also getting the best out of the rest of the team the same way, because it won't look the same way for both. So I think that's what's most difficult to answer.
And I don't see a world. I mean, obviously, as we kind of like evolve more and we do the 4-4-2 with the diamond or whatever, you have both of them up top. Like, is Gakpo an alternative for either one? Maybe more for Ekitike than he's for Isak, because we know he didn't want to play like as well, like centrally, whereas Hugo's all over the place. One thing though, this weekend that, I mean, I don't know about you, but as I watched, like especially with Wirtz being probably the biggest one, but even like McAllister, who I thought had a good game. Like I just think I don't know what we like. Serzi says whose form has dipped drastically. I thought he had a good game. I don't know what we were once. I mean, Curtis was unbelievable. But can he do that game in and game out? I guess is the question, because you'll have this from Curtis where he's like really good. There's a sequence at the end where it's just like, yes, you got it, dude. You can't get past the same guy like 5 times. Just either clear it or do whatever you got to do, because you're playing with fire over here. And I think it was 2-0, but it felt like the moment it was going to be 2-1, it was going to be similar to the Leeds game. We're going to be like, oh shit, mode was going to be initiated. But because that's kind of like how fragile things are right now. But going back to the Veers thing, it just felt like people are popping all over the place. And that has to be, I am surprised watching it as a fan who watches this team every single minute. So it has to be very difficult to defend, because you don't know who's going to pop up where. Whereas before, it just felt like, okay, Mo is here on this sideline, Gakpo is here on this sideline. It just felt like people were constantly interchanging, and that will only get better when they have these 2 full weeks of practice. That has to be a pain in the ass to defend. So I was like, this is going to let us create a lot of chances.
Yeah, it's a lot more dynamic than static, right? And like you're saying, is when you have a shape that you set up with week in, week out, that once it's broken and can easily be sussed out by the opposition, being able to play around that without making any major changes isn't going to work, because everyone knows how to play against it, because you're not there's no dynamic changes there. But I feel like with Wirtz, McAllister, and Szoboszlai, I feel like all 3 of them, some better than others, right, but possess the ability to pop up in those spaces and progress the ball in ways that the defense isn't necessarily expecting, and they're all capable of making a really great pass between the lines, or being able to take a dribble and being able to pass a guy or two to be able to create some space for themselves. And so I like having those 3 options there, and kind of just picking up in different spots in the midfield. It's just a matter, again, of the consistency. And I feel like, we could see Curtis doing that too. It's just that Curtis will have a stretch of 3 really good weeks, and then a stretch where it makes you kind of question, should he be in or not? But I feel like this year in general has been like that for many players anyway. Like we've just had moments where we're just so frustrated with maybe not necessarily the play, but just the effort and the intensity, that it really questions, what their purpose is and what they're doing out there. But I think going back to what you're saying is having that unpredictability, while yes, can be frustrating for our side, because sometimes you don't know necessarily where to make that next pass, it is just as frustrating for the defense. So I'll take unpredictability over predictability any day of the week.
Yeah, it just looked like, we got something going here. And it feels like the more they practice it, the more we play in this format, the more, like, the better that will get, because the better they will be used to where each other are and stuff as well. And you have so many guys. I mean, that's like, as you watch in midfield. And that's why when we were talking about like subs, which Endo was not available, right? He wasn't even on the bench. So, like, I can't see Endo doing what any of those midfielders are doing. So the only person that I know, there's a lot of chatter about, like, Elliot and stuff, like maybe him, like if he's come back to the squad. But I don't see a lot of midfielders. Endo is not. There's so many out there that can work in tight spaces and really good on the ball. And that's what you need from this midfield. And all 4 of them out there were that kind of a player. And I don't see anybody else being able to come in and do the same thing in the same tight spaces and stuff. And I guess Endo's are weak, says Gally. I mean, even if he was available, he's not. And I go back to, like, Gakpo can, but where in that system? I mean, does he fill in where Wirtz was? Because he's not going to move around like Wirtz was. And I thought that was like the biggest thing. He would pop out of everywhere. And I think that's a lot of chasing for a defense. As a defender, I look at that and I'm like, this is a freaking nightmare to defend because you don't know where the hell you're going to go as a center back. You don't know if you want to come out with the dude and leave space behind you. It's kind of like very confusing to defend. And I really like that. And I'm like, hey, it will only get better over here. Yala says, I know he won't do it. Chiesa might be able to the right midfield spots. I think so. I just don't know. Is Chiesa that good in tight spaces? Like, what do you like? When I look at him, I feel like he wants to like take it and like push as opposed to work within that tight space.
Before his knee injury, when he was $100 million player, yeah, I just don't know if he has that same capacity to do that anymore. But at least what you might lack in those tight spaces, you kind of make up for in, I guess, determination to win the ball back and to maybe be able to press a lot more willingly. As long as it's not like a Nunez kind of press where it's just sort of all over the place and he's just running for the sake of running. But I feel like if there's a structure to follow and he can follow it because he's an intelligent player. The thing with Chiesa too is that just we haven't really seen him get the chance with a proper other 10 around him. We've only seen him when he's matches that he started with a makeshift 11. And anytime you throw anyone into makeshift 11, you're not going to really get the best out of them because it's difficult to play with players you're not used to playing with, and playing with players who are levels below you too in some capacity, right? Like that Plymouth game, for example, it was just bad all around. So I think maybe giving him a chance with a proper 10 around him, you could really see if he is cut out for that specific position or that moment. But there's a reason why we haven't seen him as much, and Slot sees a lot more behind the scenes than we do. So I don't really envision him getting a real chance until he gets real minutes ever.
Yeah, Nick says Slot isn't just playing them. This team is diva. I mean, honestly, man, I was watching. What was I? Oh, there was a thing about there was a video, I think it came from the club actually, about like Divac's goals. I don't know what the anniversary of it was or whatever it was, but I mean, like, Divac played a lot. Like, there are a lot of games that I was like, damn right, man, he was playing then. Like, he was playing out wide left and stuff like, we kind of forget that because the guy has given us so many ridiculous moments that we remember those and kind of forgets some of his other stuff. But before that horrific injury, he was kind of like all over the place getting minutes. I trust that. I know what Nick is saying. I just don't think if he had any more faith in him, you would think he would get more minutes by now. But, and I don't know if he fits this system as well, by the way. Like, I just don't understand if, like, I know what's Galley's saying in terms of the right-hand side. The problem with this game is I think it's very difficult to take this game. So the Inter game was totally different. Right, out of these two games, if you want to do a takeaway. So then this game, you have a lead, and I know it's kind of like, but we play a lot better with the lead. And it's a lot easier to play with the lead because then we can kind of pass around in the back. And it's like, we're winning. You come out and get it. It's a lot easier to kind of move the ball around and all that kind of stuff. And it's not, people are not getting impatient because they know we're winning already. So it's a lot easier and comfortable to play. So you have those spaces where Chiesa could go into, Mo could go into. I don't know if that space is there for Mo and Chiesa in the system, even if it's 0-0 and Brighton is parked back there.
Yeah, probably not, because they're not the line breakers that you need in that setup, right? So I don't know. I just don't know who else. Like you said, having no midweek games is going to be really nice. If Subbo is healthy enough to play next weekend, that's going to be a huge lift. But it's hard to see who goes where based on who is available. So
I mean, so do you take this? How positive do you take this? Do you take this as a whole new beginning? We got the streak going over here, or are you still like, oh,
I mean,
like
you take
how
it.
optimistic are you about the Spurs game? Let me ask that way.
Oh, I think I'm very optimistic about the Spurs game because I don't think Spurs are that good. So I am not too, I guess, any famous last words there. I think this is a positive result that will trend upwards. I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, right? I mean, I jokingly put the treble winners caption here, but it's all unjust. I think you just have to take this moment, enjoy this moment, and then when you look toward the next match, you're not overly optimistic, but I'm also not so damningly pessimistic like I was too, right? Because I think that was a part of it is where we were really dreading the next match based on what we just saw. Whereas now there's not as much dread, which is always good to have.
Yeah, that's fair, I think, right? There's a bit more of a let's see what happens kind of a thing. I don't go into the games expecting to win definitely anymore. It's more like a let's see what happens. And I think this is a bit better to watch. There's a lot more positives to take as you watch it, as opposed to just question marks popping in your head as you watch the game. 5 results in 5, says Gally. I mean, obviously, we've kind of like lowered the bar, and you got to stop the bleeding though, one way or the other, right? So even those draws count as a result because you had to stop the bleeding. So in that sense, you get the draws. Now you're getting the wins, getting clean sheets, which, going back to what Nick is saying, I know it was kind of like thanks to Brighton that we got the clean sheet in some ways, but you are creating. I don't agree that we're not creating because our XG is out there and the chances created. I mean, I saw something crazy like Wirtz has 28 chances created or something crazy like that, but not one assist. That's a freaking crazy number to have that many created big chances and not to get an assist out of it is just freaking crazy. But I thought he was amazing to watch. I really like watching that midfield in action over there. The Mo thing, we should probably talk about that because it's almost worked well, right? Like he didn't have to come into that game like in the 70th minutes or something like that because it wasn't that kind of game, especially in the second half. So it kind of worked how he came in. So what do you make of his performance? One, do you see a huge change? Let's start with that first.
That was 2 questions. I don't know which one I start with first. You said, what do you make of his performance and something about a change? I think
was it like just Mo before, or did you see a whole new Mo?
No, I did not see a whole new Mo. I think we saw a regression to the old Mo in the last 20 minutes or so. So I don't think I would sit here and say, oh, it's a brand new Mo. He's going to go to AFCON. He's going to come back. And he's going to be the most different, he's been this whole year. I think he came out with a chip on his shoulder as far as a playmaking standpoint goes. And he was like, well, I can still create for others. I'm still that player that can do that. And so he was able to create for others. But then the last 20 minutes, we sort of saw him regress back to I'm going to try and take my own chances, and my confidence isn't so great. So my finishing isn't so great right now. And then the last pass of the last counterattack to Robertson, I think was kind of a microcosm of the season, unfortunately, where you have this match where you've played pretty decently, and you have this great opportunity, and you kind of just you fluff it, right? And it was funny to watch Mo, Van Dijk, and Robbo lead the actual counterattack at the end. I feel like if you had told me that at the beginning of the year that we would see that at one point, I'd say you're crazy. So I think overall, I think Mo had a good game. I don't think it was amazing by any means. I'm glad that he received the reception that he did from the fans. I think that was really big because that could have gone really sour as well. Especially when you had the discourse through the community of the fans of everyone trying to make it Mo versus Slot. So not necessarily knowing how he would be treated at the ground, for example, could have changed things a little bit. So I think overall everything was good.
Did you expect that at all though? Like I didn't now that you're mentioning it, I didn't even think of it as he might get a negative reaction. Did you think maybe?
No, I didn't think he wouldn't get a negative reaction, but it wouldn't maybe be as positive.
Oh,
right?
okay.
I mean,
That's
because it
fair.
was,
Okay.
yeah, 'cause I don't think they'd be sitting there booing like they did Trent.
Okay.
But I also wasn't necessarily going to think that they were going to be so overly supportive as well. That
Gotcha.
was something they didn't know. And maybe it would have been different if it was the 75th minute and he's coming on and the team is up 3-0 versus, I don't know, things. It's all different. But overall, I don't think this is going to change him so much. But maybe, and I think maybe Sir Z alluded to it, maybe this was the reset that the rest of the team needed. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like everybody, like when he came on, the commentary and stuff too, like was making it like Mo got benched because he wasn't passing, and I don't think that was the case. Like it was just like he did not. His defending is about the same as last year, but then his offensive output is brutal. So while you can kind of take away, I think you can give Mo the benefit of the doubt for not having the assist from last year, because you can kind of say, look at freaking Wirtz. Like he has 26 chances created. I mean, Mo has created chances. He doesn't have assists, but nothing nowhere near to what he has. And for a guy that we kind of go from and make our like attack and focus, he has not produced. So if you're not producing up top, which you were last year, so we were like, you know what, that's cool. You don't have to defend because you're getting all these goals and assists and stuff. When he wasn't getting that and he is not helping defensively, kind of like going through the motions, I thought that was the reason for him being benched. He just did not have that energy off the ball as much as we like. They made it sound like he's not passing as much. I think even like Sir Z was mentioning that, he was second guessing himself, but I really thought, it was more about him playing within the team and not just like, he reminds me, you're a basketball guy, like the guy who just comes up, just tries to create like a stupid shot, takes a stupid 3-pointer. You're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and then doesn't get back when the long rebound comes. Like, it reminded me of a guy who plays soccer like that. And it's like, dude, you're not helping the team at all because you're not giving anything up. If that 3-pointer is not going in, you're freaking worthless to us because you're making everything a lot worse. I thought he was a lot more mindful of what he's doing.
I think that's fair. And I think maybe part of it's so hard to say because
basically,
Nick is an excellent example of that. Man, I think the greatest, I think it was Nick Young that had like a 34-footer that was going in and sort of bounced between the rim a couple times, and he turned around in celebration with his hand up it rimmed out. It's like, that is Nick Young to a T. I mean, I wish any of my freshman kids could make a 3 right now, but different conversation for a different day. I don't know what else to say on the Mo thing. I think Gally's mentioning about it being 50-50, whether or not he'll still be here at the end of the closure of the window. And I don't know if you feel like, because I agree that yesterday, the match, nothing that happened during that match was going to make that decision one way or the other. I feel like the decision has probably already been made. Do you think anything that would have happened in that match would have changed any decision that's already been made?
I would think in this sense, because obviously a conversation was had, right? Depends on what that conversation was slotted as. If it's Mo semi-apologizing and saying, I know where you're coming from, and I'll do this, and then he did some of those things on the pitch, then you can see things changing. If the conversation is, hey, we don't want you going out on a bad note if this is how it's going down, it's not good for you, it's not good for the club, it's not good for anybody. So we're going to throw you on the squad. And then it's like, oh shit, Gomez got injured. Now you're going to have to go into it like a lot earlier. Then that's different. But I took it more as, look, I think if it's, which mind you, nothing he said was wrong. I totally agree with Nick over there. Like, what did Jamie say that got people butthurt is beyond me, because he was honest. And I hate that people were annoyed with Jamie said, but we're okay with what Mo said. It's just like mind blown over there. But I don't know if, like I say, it really depends on those conversations that's happening between them. My thing is, if you look at the game, just look at yesterday, the way he went around at the end, I don't see that as a guy who's leaving. Like, did you, like, because everybody was like, oh, he went around and clapped it. And Mo, who knows that's the last time he's doing that Anfield, knowing Mo would be a lot more emotional than he was. Is the way I looked at it, where it's not guaranteed. It's not a done deal, whatever it is.
Yeah, I could see that. Unfortunately, I can see it both ways. So yeah, I maybe within the moment it would have been more emotional. Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. I don't know.
That was my thing. As I'm like watching him, he wasn't like emotionally angry though. Like, that's end of a game where I think he felt good about how the game went and how he played and how things worked. I thought it would be a lot more. Like, he would be a lot more emotional if that is, and he would take his time more if that was literally his last time. I just didn't get that. And I think, there's a lot of things that he does, like behind the scenes to kind of like cause the drama and stuff, because I think he likes being the center of attention. And you know what? I don't agree with this at all. He did have to bring it up because I liked that he brought it up, because the whole point was Mo acting like he made Liverpool, but Jamie's point was it's at least 50-50. Liverpool made Mo Salah. Mo was not Mo before he came to Liverpool. So Mo going around and talking like, he was the next best thing and everything is owed to him. I know he didn't say that, but that's the attitude he said it in. That's why I kind of liked what Jamie said, and everything he said in there was right. It got people butthurt. It probably got more butt hurt, but you know what? Truth hurts. I mean, Liverpool is what made him, and obviously he did a lot for Liverpool. He's like a legend. I consider him. I think he is a football legend. He won't be for like different reasons, I think. But you look at his numbers in the Premier League and stuff like that. I mean, he is a Premier League legend, even if he's not a football legend. I think that's fair to say.
Could have very well been Julian Brandt instead of Mo Salah.
Yeah, says he didn't bring his whole family for nothing. But he mentioned something like, or maybe he mentioned it, or I read it that he said that after the Sunderland game, more like even before all this really like happens. So I don't know how that changed. I mean, I freaking assumed that he would start against like Leeds and stuff personally at the time, or like Sunderland. So I don't know. I felt like, Gali might be right. It might be 50-50. My question is, if you do get, there's a lot of like Semenyo talks and stuff like that. That does not really help the cause, for one, right? Because that's even less playing time in a system where I think you'll be interested to see this next month. Going back to our conversation about Gakpo and stuff, like how do wingers fit in this? Like, do they fit in this? Does he find a way where, you play on the left, but you're not necessarily a winger, you're like a left midfielder or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see how we perceive, like how we implement these guys in there. Yeah, I'll be honest. I know about breaking down racial barriers. I think we're kind of like running away with that. I hate to say it, and I'm like like a pessimist like that. I see so much on social media that's a temporary thing at best, unfortunately. But I think, yeah, Scotty says that is a crazy comment about legend status. I don't know if he will be considered the best Premier League. But you look at his numbers and stats and records that he's done in the Premier League, he has to be considered a Premier League legend at the least. I don't know if he'll be considered a world football legend. So where do you put him if he stops now?
If he stopped now,
as of things are now,
Premier League legend, I think, would be the ceiling that we would see, and I think that's fair. I wouldn't necessarily go world legend as well, but I think it's it's hard to reach that level without having anything done on the international stage as well. I think when we talk about world legends, we see players that have done things at the international level. And I know that it's difficult because, having someone from Brazil versus someone from Egypt, obviously you're going to have a better chance to make some sort of a dent on the international level than you will over at Egypt. But on the same side, having to beat out so many players to be on a Brazilian team compared to beating out the level of players you have to beat out to be on the Egyptian team, there's levels to that too, right? So it's almost like catch-22 in that sense. But I think Premier League legend is fair. I wouldn't go so far as to say world legend. But we love to romanticize it because we've seen him at this club, and every player that plays at this club, for better or for worse, a lot of us have rose-tinted glasses, right? So
yep.
I think it's no knock to say that he is a Premier League legend, but not necessarily a world football legend. I mean, that's still a great distinction, a great honor to have. Personally, I think
it's funny, but you look at okay, like for example, FIFA, right, has like icons. I think Mo is definitely an icon in there, right? Like 20 years from now, there's going to be a Mo card in FIFA Ultimate Team, and all kids are going to know who Mo is. So to me, in that sense, he will be a football legend. Like, I think what he's done, he has made his mark, and he might do more. Obviously, like whatever league he goes to, he's going to be the face of the league and stuff like that. But I think in that sense, everybody will know who Mo is. It's being from Egypt is a lot more difficult for him, because here's the thing, if you're from Brazil, obviously Copa America gets more attention, right, than the African Cup. If you're from Europe, the Euros get a lot more attention than the World Cup. So you actually have different tournaments to make your mark in. I think he will be considered a football legend, but I don't think it'll be in the same sense that you say Pele, Maradona, Mo. I don't think it'll be like that, but I think over time, when you talk about iconic players, his name is going to be in there. And I think the little Steve was talking about, I know it was something about Islamophobia going down and stuff like that. I am just, if you browse anywhere in social media and stuff like that, that's a temporary thing. I'm noticing also in social media that there's a lot of Mo Salah fans who are not actually Liverpool fans, who are just Mo Salah fans, and they will not be Liverpool fans as soon as Mo's gone. So I think in that sense, sadly, the whole Mo effect is not a permanent, he broke racial barriers kind of a thing in that sense. Maybe for him, he didn't get that bias, but I think, you can have anybody, if they perform well. Sadly, we've seen, Mateusz, that people will kind of put their prejudices aside and still freaking, I mean, there's a guy on the sideline attacking Semenyo.
Right. That represents this club,
yes,
by the way.
But he's also rooting for Mane, I'm sure, 2-3 years ago. So that shit's, unfortunately, those rotten minds are hard to connect and connect the bands with and understand where they're coming from. But I mean, if we think that, because of Mo, Islamophobia is a lot less now. Yeah, while Mo is here, but unfortunately,
I mean, I can understand that, just in Liverpool specifically. Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair to say too, right? If that's driven those numbers down, I would say that that's true. The problem is that then outside of Liverpool, there is still a lot of it. Mo being in Liverpool and being the legend that he is at the club doesn't change how someone feels about Islam here in the States, right? I mean, so yes, he did a lot for the city of Liverpool as far as Islamophobia and breaking those barriers down, but it's just, there's a much bigger picture here. And I'm not trying to diminish that, because that is a big thing still. And it's not I get it. Sometimes we will look at things very Eurocentrically. I mean, I'm not going to be, I don't try to be biased, but we just end up thinking of it that way. But when you just mentioned Pele and Maradona, those guys are South American, right? They're not European either, right? So I think, I don't know. I feel like this is a difficult topic that we need more than the 10-15 minutes we're talking about it right now to really get into the crux of it, because there's so much you can expound on. And I think someone brought up George Weah. I mean, George Weah won the Ballon d'Or, right? I mean, he that's something that Mo never did, unfortunately, right? Because there were players, maybe deservingly, maybe not, that won those awards while he was at his peak. So I don't know. It's none of this that we're saying is meant to be out of malice either, right? I mean, we're just trying to have a conversation about.
I think people are just being naive more than anything else. And I mean, just because like 20% down in Liverpool, I mean, when you say breaking, it's like a very local thing over there, but not like, I know, like making him this like he broke all barriers kind of a thing is, I don't know, it's like a bit overstating. It's maybe I'm just being too pessimistic, but I see so much shit online. If you take parts in running any of our social media, Gally's in the audience, he knows what I'm talking about, you can see some of the comments on our stuff. The world is a much worse place than we make it to be. And it's not anti-Salah, by the way. I just felt like, like Nick is saying, that Jamie did not say anything wrong, that he got shit for nothing. I thought there was like an over-the-top support of Mo. I guess my bigger worry was, not worry, but the thing that rubbed me off the wrong way was a lot of the Mo support came from the slot out people, and Mo was just a tool to help them help their process more than it. Like they would have done it if it was like Endo coming out and saying shit. It wasn't more like to support Mo, it was more to support the slot out thing, because and maybe that's why Mo did it. It's like to put the nail in the coffin for slot kind of thing, because the slot out people were out with pitchforks anyway. And that's maybe like rubbing the wrong way. And that's why Mo doing that in that time, and we talked a lot about this on Monday night with like Gally last week, was definitely wrong. A player taking it out of the locker room and like talking about it is wrong anyway, especially that timing where your manager is in trouble and the club is in like chaos, was even like 10 times worse. I guess that's kind of like my
we would have said the same things if it was Van Dijk, right? We would have said the same things if it was someone else on that team, because that is not the way that we wish to, or that is not the way that we follow this club. That's not how the players act, right? I mean, that we take pride in the club and the organization and its history, and that's just not how players go about their business, which is whether or not it's Mo or whether it's Virgil, whether it's whoever, that's just not how you go about your business.
I mean, this is fair. I mean, he has had an impact, and I think, I get that. I mean, I didn't think like he was going to break the barriers and it's game over. Unfortunately not. But if you say that, he has become an icon despite being Muslim, I guess there's a point there, because there's like an automatic anti-bias. Or you can say it this way, it's a lot harder for Mo to become an icon as opposed to someone from Brazil or someone from Argentina and stuff. Is that fair to say? So he has, in that sense, had a bigger challenge to become an icon that he has, as opposed to like somebody from South America, for example.
Possibly, but you could also argue that the amount of the Muslim population in the world is so big that inherently there are possible more fans, given his religious background.
Oh, in terms of like in support of him, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
I'm not saying that I believe that. It's just that is a possible argument on the other side too, right?
The problem is, I think we can't connect with like the racially discriminating asshole minds to be able to like think like they think in the first place.
Right. Yeah.
His accomplishments.
We're not.
No, I mean, we're not like, there's a difference between saying, I mean, we didn't say Mo didn't do anything when we were talking about, like the whole, like, the Carragher thing, or when we're talking about Monday Night with Gally. Everybody knows what Mo did. Mo's a legend of the club, and I love Mo. And you kind of have to understand Mo's personality. Mo is that kind of guy, like like Kobe Bryant-ish, right? Like there's a huge ego, but that's that ego that drives you to be the player that you are and that drive and stuff like that. So I get all that. And you gotta love Mo the way Mo is. I understand that. I just didn't like what he did. When was that, last week or whatever? Because he did the same thing with his contract and all that kind of stuff. And I thought at the time the criticism was more than like justified, and the support made no freaking sense to me. And the sport would not be there if the team was winning and Mo was crying. It was more about supporting the slots out thing more than anything else. That's probably what rubbed me the wrong way. Otherwise, I mean, I don't think anybody is diminishing what Mo has done on and off the pitch. Really, I just take that, like, unfortunately, I'm like a more pessimistic view of the world in that sense over there. Comparing Mo to Kobe is insulting to Kobe. Maybe Ronaldo. I don't know. I like, it's the same thing. Trust me, it's the same thing. You have to be a little of a dude. Another world legends.
I mean, I feel like this is like a silly thing to get upset about. In some ways, some people are going to see him some way, some are going to see him another way, right? It's just like it's all about what your definition of world legend is, right? When we talk world legends, if I sit here right now and I start saying Pele, Maradona, Beckenbauer, like does Mo's name come on that list? No, I don't think so. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Us, right? It might come to us because we're Liverpool fans. We're talking about some dude in, I don't know, Finland right now. Will he say in 10 years, off the top of your head, give me like 10 world football legends? Do you think Mo will be on that list if they give you like 10 of them?
If I'm from Finland?
You're Finland.
I'm Finnish?
You could be Finnish.
I should be Finnish. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not. Finnish, probably not. Probably not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that's a good conversation for another day, because this can go on for hours, I know. But yeah, I think the thing is, for us, but you have to understand, as Liverpool fans, we're a bit more biased. Kevin was saying, and he's semi-biased too, but I think, he is a legend. Everybody who follows the sport right now knows who Mo is. My thing, when you say world legends, see, that's exactly my point. This is exactly my point. You have not watched Pele, right? But to you, he's a world legend. Like, it's not like, I've seen rare footage of Pele. You've probably seen even less than me. But like, there's a mark where everybody will refer to him as a world legend. The key is we're going to be a lot more biased. That somebody, like, I don't know. I don't know. It could be any country. Damn it. Like, will they list Mo as one of like world time greats like 10 years from now? I guess that's more what I'm looking at in my head, because we have not seen Pele. Have you watched Maradona, for example?
Well, not live, but highlights, yeah.
Okay, that's a great note to fucking end the show. Because I watched Maradona when he was slapping the ball to the English goal, but with the hand of God. But yeah, I mean, like, I watched him, and to me, he's like a world legend and stuff. But yeah, I mean, these are like names that I think people will throw out there, like both Ronaldo's, like Ronaldo, for example, even if you didn't watch it. I don't know if it'll be interesting. Like, there is impossible to say. I don't know if in 10 years somebody's going to throw Mo's name in that top 10 of players, but he will definitely be an icon. Like, people will know who Mo is, but it might not be the one of the first names they throw out there. But it will be, it is what it is. We are still winning the league, and that's what I'm going with. Monday, game plan for Monday, apart from fixing that closet of yours. Come on, dude. You look like you got to do what the guy before you did. Just put some longer screws. Because it looks like there was only like this much catching the top over there. More screws, longer screws.
Like I said, I'm putting it off till after Christmas, because today is day 7 of 17 days in a row at work before a couple day break. So the wife also said, "Don't do anything until after Christmas." So hey, I mean, if she said it, then and you guys were here, I mean, then you weren't here to witness her saying it. You're here to witness me saying that she said it, which is just
Objection, the hearsay.
Hearsay, Your Honor. So yeah, and no grooming today. So just coaching some kids who don't listen. So I'm sure Susie knows how that feels, is trying to give directions to kids that don't listen, but you do what you can.
Well, you have fun with that. It's Monday after I head to work. I think Fenerbahce plays in a little bit over here, but I'll be back tonight with the gang. Monday night podcast, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Do meet us then. If you have not given the thumbs up, do that. If you have not followed us on YouTube, why the heck not? Give us a follow on YouTube and support the channel as well. A lot more coming your way in the next couple of weeks over here. Once the holidays are over, we'll start going to the new scheme over here and new scheduling and stuff on YouTube. We'll announce along the way. So have a great week, everybody. Enjoy the win streak, right? And knowing that, you know,
Look at us
sending our world legends to AFCON.
In true Liverpool fandom fashion, we still found something to absolutely argue about in the midst of a win. That's just our club, baby. That's just what we do.
That's just this audio. That's just chat. So disruptive. I blame deluded Steve for everything. But yeah, have a great week, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.